Welcome back, everyone, and good morning. Welcome to the Gathering Movement interview series. If you're new to the series or you're new to my world, my name is Bridget Aileen Cisco. I am a speaker, an author, a Kundalini yoga teacher, a live video coach, and today your host of our incredible talk with Uma Girish, Your Story Has a Purpose. Thank you, Uma, for being here.
Oh, it's truly my joy and pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. The intention of this interview series is to bring together people across all different industries. So the healing arts, finance, health, education, fitness, to really empower us all to become the leaders of our life. Because I believe it's not just from one industry. It's really about this global movement. So I always like to ask people first, how does your work in the world empower others to become the leader of their life?
Oh, what a great place to start. I believe in all things soul directed. And so, my intention, my big mission for my lifetime is to help every woman I know who's ready to receive my wisdom, light, and is open to walking her path, find her purpose, find the reason why she came into this incarnation, this existence. And once she knows that, once she has an ongoing relationship with her soul, her life has to be empowered. Her life has to be radiant and beautiful and create harmony and peace and beauty in the world.
I feel that that's the biggest question most of us come into this world really curious about. Why am I here? What am I here to do? Who am I here to help? And most importantly, who am I? So for the women who are just entering this journey of trying to figure this all out, where do they begin?
So I feel that before you get to questions like who am I and why did I come here, you have to know who you are, who you believe yourself to be. And that's the place where I begin the work. So everything that stands between us and the life we desire is conditioning. The values and beliefs that family of origin gave to us, which has become our inheritance. We took these truths on when we were children and didn't know any better. We shaped our lives in accordance with those values and beliefs. And here we are in our 40s, 50s, 60s, allowing those same beliefs to run our lives. And we don't stop to think, does this serve me? Is this what I truly want for my life? Is this what I believe today? Or am I just running on autopilot? So I believe that we need to understand what our conditioning is, where it comes from, begin the process of deconditioning, move away from the false self to the true self. And once we meet our true self, that's when we begin to make sense of the question, who am I? Beyond all my roles, beyond my ethnicity, beyond my success, my failures, beyond the money I have in my bank, and all of those personality definitions that we think define who we are, that's when the real work begins. That's when we begin to meaningfully turn to that question, who am I? So many women, when I ask them, who am I? It's like we've all read the right books and listened to the right podcasts and interviews. We have an answer to the question, who am I? But when I say to them, do you really feel that what you just said to me? You just said to me, I'm a spark of the divine. Immediately, when I asked you the question, do you feel like a spark of the divine? How does being a spark of the divine influence the way you show up for your life every day? And that's when they realize, oh my God, this is just a definition. Again, one more thing on autopilot, but I haven't really been living the meaning of this. And that's when they're ready to decondition and begin to understand all the veils that have been covering their light. And once the veils are removed, The light is just radiant, it doesn't have to do anything. All you have to do is remove the veils and the light shines. But we think we have to keep working and working and working and working. It's just understanding what the barriers are to what we want.
Hmm. A woman after my own heart. We speak the same language. So I feel blessed to be in your space right now. Now, for the women who realize that there are these barriers that hold them back from their truest identity of self, beyond the labels, beyond the conditioning, beyond the agreements they've made with themselves, society, how do they begin to unlearn? It has to be a challenging aha to say, wow, everything I've ever believed in might not be true. So where do they start? How is that process?
I think when you look at certain beliefs and begin to really investigate them, the thing is, when we were children, we just accepted this as gospel truth. But now that we are adults, we can say, is this belief really true? Why have I been carrying it all these years? How does it serve me? Sometimes playing small and being invisible and hiding your true self works for you. So, the reason why many women struggle is because playing their small self out in the world is actually working to their advantage. So we need to start telling the truth. For me, that's where the rubber meets the road. Tell the truth about who you are, no matter how uncomfortable it is, um, no matter how many tears come up, because all that is releasing the old self, the false self. So telling the truth about what you've been holding on to, why you haven't been willing to look at these beliefs, in what way are these beliefs serving you? How do they keep you, in people pleasing mode? How do they keep you from embracing change? Because change can be hard, and let's admit it, nobody wants to change. Change isn't this wonderful shiny path that we say, I'm waiting to change, I'm waiting to walk down this path. No, there has to be something stirring inside of you, something powerful churning inside of you to say, the life I live is no longer true for me. And it is way more painful for me to live this truth than to explore what's on the other side. And it's only when a woman gets to that place that she will put in the work. But once she gets there, she's ready and she's open and she's willing to dive in.
Mm. So there has to be a little bit of commitment and acceptance that she is ready. She's ready to take a look at everything that she's ever believed, and she's simply ready to strip away all the layers. And it sounds like she's just becoming herself. She's allowing herself to be, I say, unapologetically you.
Exactly. It's a blossoming. She's becoming this flower that she knows she's capable of blossoming into, but something has held her back. Whether it's a spouse, whether it's a partner, excuse me, whether it's the family that she was born into. Maybe it was a poor family, maybe the family didn't believe in anything sacred. No matter what our story, and this is where our stories are a big part of how we are shaped and who we are shaped to become. So for me, truth telling is where it all begins. The moment you're willing to tell the truth about what's really going on, you're a warrior ready to walk into that battlefield and take
Mm.
charge of your life.
Mm. So there's a lot of honesty we have to have with ourselves, and especially when it comes to us taking a look at our story and what that has allowed us and who that has shaped us to be. So when it comes to our stories, how do we begin even taking a look at what those are? How do we begin to put words to our happenings, our experiences?
I like to invite women to examine the different areas of their life. So, relationships could be one bucket, work slash career could be one bucket, um, dreams and desires could be one bucket. So, when you look at what have I been telling myself about a relationship I want to have? What is the relationship I am in? So, let's talk about romantic love or a partnership as an example. We all have desires and dreams about what that relationship should look like, or we want that to look like. And we settle for something. Am I really happy in this relationship? Does this relationship serve me? Am I being allowed to evolve within this relationship? I'm not saying your partner has to be where you are. That's not at all what I mean. But is there space for you to grow and breathe and be the woman you came here to be? If
Mm.
that's not the case, if you wake up every morning wondering, why am I still here? What am I doing here? Why do I settle for this day after day after day when my soul is pulling me away and drawing me to something much different? But I'm scared to go because I'm so afraid of trusting what's on the other side and how I'll get there. So if you're looking at your relationship story and you really look at all these questions, it's a journey of self-discovery. It's a pilgrimage to within you. And that's a really good place to start. What's the story about where you are? What's the story about where you want to be? And what is the bridge that connects the two? And how do you want to be walking that bridge? Do you want to walk that bridge with resentment and loathing and blame and shame and guilt? Is that the bridge you want to walk, or do you want to walk that bridge with your hand held by the divine, in trust, in love, in some amount of fear? Let's be honest, I mean, change is never easy, but somehow knowing that there is a net beneath you and that you're not going to fall, that the divine arms will hold you when you're scared, when you're insecure, when you don't know where to turn. To me, that's a much better way to walk that bridge than to continue to place all your problems on somebody else, on some external source, being the source of all your pain and what you haven't achieved. And then you keep resisting change. You resist change because it's easy to blame somebody else for where you are. But when you take charge of your own life, then the walk on that bridge becomes so much more meaningful.
Mm. I feel like everyone listening probably just needs to take a couple deep breaths into everything that you were saying. Words strike the chord within us all. And I can feel that your words strike the chord within me and within anyone who's going to listen to this information and this knowledge and this wisdom. And I'd love to ask you, what inspired you to venture down this path? How did you arrive here helping so many women understand their own purpose?
I walked that exact same bridge. And my story of transformation began with my mother's death in 2009, January of 2009. It was the worst pain I had ever known. But something in me, which I know now is my soul, something kept nudging me. It kept shaking me awake. I would lie awake at night, unable to fall asleep, thinking about, why am I here? I'm in so much pain. This hurts like hell. But I know there's something for me to do. I just don't know what that is. And I would toss and turn, the tangling up the bedclothes, trying to find my purpose in the middle of the wee hours of the morning. Like, there would be days when I would just look up at the sky and think, if only someone could just shout it out and I would know what that is, it would be so much easier. But of course, all I was guided to do was take the next step. That's all I kept hearing. Take the next step. That's all you need to do. And so when my mother died and we were in this brand new country, we had just moved to the United States. I had a part-time job. I quit my part-time job without any other guarantees because my heart wanted to explore what was on the other side. And I began walking down that bridge, allowing the divine to hold my hand. And as I walked, as I took one step after the next, things began to unfold. I was divinely guided to become a hospice volunteer, sitting by the bedsides of the dying. That was my introduction to my soul's purpose. It was death that taught me about life and living. So it became completely clear to me that I don't have all the time I think I do. I don't know how much time I have left on this planet. I have to get busy living the life I want to live, which is a life of service and being served, which is a life of helping women transform their pain into purpose. Because I took the worst pain I've ever experienced and created a beautiful, amazing, fulfilling, nurturing life for myself. So I am passionate about letting other women know that if I can do this for myself, so can you. And if you don't know how, if you don't have the foggiest idea, let me hold your hand and let's walk down that bridge.
Hmm. Hmm. We live on this polarity planet. We have these experiences, and the way that I've understood this is that we've signed up for this incarnation, and that on the earth plane, we have the whole spectrum of emotions. It's one of our greatest gifts. Why do you think it is that so many of us go through these challenging situations? But those challenging situations are what open us up to the realm of possibilities beyond the challenge.
Because when we are seeking pleasure and we are living a pleasurable experience or a pleasurable life, there's no growth there. We're just happy to be there. Everything is good. It's just rainbows and butterflies, and there's no motivation to evolve. Pain is the biggest motivator for evolution. When we are in pain and we want the pain to go away, we're willing to do anything we can. And that's the moment we begin to ask, why am I in so much pain? Why do babies die? Why is there poverty in the world? You know, we begin to ask the questions that finally turn us inward. Because as long as we're just seeking pleasure, we are externally focused, right? We are looking for the next wonderful experience and the next vacation and the next wonderful book we're going to read and the next wonderful meal. And there's no incentive to really change anything when life is good. But there's every incentive to change when we are in pain because we want to get out of that painful situation. And we are so open and ready and willing to learn when we are in pain. I think that's the main reason why pain is our biggest teacher. In my life, the hardest things have taught me the most. I haven't learned much through pleasure, except that it's good to have pleasure on this earthly experience because we came here to explore the entire spectrum of emotions, right? But the hardest things that have happened in my life have always taught me and expanded me and made me reach out to other people
Mm.
and brought about this passion to share what I've been through so that another human feels a little less alone.
I love it. I'm almost at a loss for words because I couldn't agree more with everything that you share. And the way I've always seen our emotions, that they're simply doorways. They're simply opportunities. And we have that choice. We have the free will to choose how we see them. We can either allow them to run our lives or rule our lives and control our existence, or we can simply see them as opportunities to understand ourselves and the world and others on a much, much deeper level. So I appreciate you reminding us that pain is not good or bad. It's simply an experience that allows us to go deeper within ourselves.
Exactly. And I always say emotions are messengers. You know, the reason why we live neck up is because emotions are felt in the body and we don't like feeling our emotions. But they're telling us how we feel about things, about people, about experiences, about invitations. So if we're not open to emotions, we're not open to their messages, and then we don't know how to navigate our worldly experience, then we go up to our mind and say, how should I decide? What should I do? We look here for the answers when we should be looking here. It's the body that tells us how we are feeling about things and which way we should go. We don't use the body as a barometer, unfortunately, because pain and pleasure both live in our bodies,
Mm,
and we don't want to feel the pain. So, yeah, that's spot on what you said. There are doorways, and if we don't walk through these doorways, we miss the experience.
mm, mm. What have been some of the most inspiring books or teachers you've had on your journey?
Mm. So, the very first teacher who came on my path was Wayne Dyer. I read his books growing up in India, but when my mother died and I was ripe and ready for my awakening, it was Eckhart Tolle who held my hand. And his book, A New Earth, was absolutely um, a life changing book for me on that journey, learning about the ego and the soul as my soul was whispering to me, and I didn't know how to make sense of it. Finally, understanding that we do have a false self and a true self. And what is the ego and what is the pain body. So I love his book, A New Earth. I've also learned and grown through Anita Moorjani's work. Anita has now become a dear friend of mine, and I'm in fact supporting her in her sanctuary, her new sanctuary, which she started on the 11th of November. So her work really speaks to me because in the aftermath of my mother's passing, I was voraciously devouring books about near death experiences because all my questions revolved around where do we go when we die? What happens? Like, does the soul come back? I mean, having grown up in India, reincarnation was such a constant theme in my life. But then I'm a questioner, so I have to question everything and it has to make sense to me. So, yeah, ND experiences really, really, really moved me greatly and gave me a lot of comfort in the knowing, because ultimately that's what it is. There's no book that can tell you with absolute certainty that this is the truth. But when you trust that knowing within yourself, that is your personal truth. So that gave me a lot of comfort in the knowing that there is a beyond. There is a beyond this existence. And Anita's book was one of the first that opened the doors to that for me.
Mm, mm. So powerful. So powerful. Now, for anyone who is listening right now or will listen in the future, what are some of your final words of wisdom that you feel that they need to hear in this moment right now?
So I would say to anyone listening, no matter where you are, no matter how painful your life, no matter how difficult your storyline, there is always, always, always hope, because the pen is in your hand. You get to write the story from this point forward. The only thing that you need to think about is the decision, the choice which you get to make in this moment. So, no matter what path you've been traveling, if at this moment you choose to pick up that pen and write a different story, a beautiful ending is possible for you.
Amazing. How can people enter your world, enter your vortex of knowledge, of wisdom, of love?
The best place to find me is my website, which is umagirish.com. I'm also on Instagram and Facebook. On Instagram, I'm at Uma Girish is my handle, and on Facebook, I am Uma Writes.
And I'd love for you just to share with us quickly some of the programs you have coming up in the new year.
So, at the top of this interview, I spoke about dismantling the false self in order to find your true self. I have a program to meet just that need in you. So, this is called Meet Your True Self. It begins on the 14th of January. And it's all about, it's an 8-week coaching program, group coaching program, where I'm with you every week, week after week, and we get to dismantle your belief system. We look at your relationship with your body. We look at your relationship with your emotions. And then finally, the last 2 weeks, we talk about your relationship with your soul. So if you go to my Instagram handle, you can find the link to all of that. And yeah, the program begins in the middle of January 2021.
So special. I know anyone who's going to be joining that program is in for a very special treat with you. Thank you so much, Uma. I'm really so deeply honored and grateful that we were able to have this conversation of great depth this morning or this afternoon for you.
Thank you so much for inviting me, Bridget. I can tell you're a soul sister, and having these kinds of conversations with women like you is one of the sweetest life experiences for me. So I am so very grateful to you for the invitation.
Thank you so much. And for anyone who is listening or who will watch this on the replay, I have a very bold goal for 2021, which is to interview 100 inspiring individuals who are here to change the world, impact the planet, and uplift humanity. So if you know someone who would be a really awesome fit for our interview series, I'd love for you to send them my way so we can speak together and share their beautiful story and uplift the world. Thank you guys so much for being here, and thank you, Uma.
Thank you.